So, what's going on in your mind? What's happening in your mind? And if you look at your life, is it where you'd like it to be? If you can take a look at your dominating thoughts and look at the life that you're living, if it's not congruent with how you'd like to live, it must mean your dominating thoughts are not congruent with how you'd like to live as well. How do you create that congruency? Well, you start to think thoughts of your ideal life. And many a times we call this visualization. Okay. So, but then how do you visualize? So, a good trader, a good portfolio manager, or a person who's good generally at visualizing their life, no matter what occupation that they have, visualizes the end. You see your profits going up. You see yourself buying a certain vehicle because you've made all the money, or living in a certain place. That's what a good visualizer does. But a great visualizer visualizes the process that gets them there, visualizes that which they can control. Okay? The outcome is something that you cannot control. And who knows when you'll get it. The process is something that you can control and is something that you can do right now. So what is it that you're visualizing? So for instance, how I like to visualize is me having the ability to do my daily goals. See myself doing that on a daily basis. I visualize myself having enough energy to be able to do these things. I visualize myself buying certain foods and discovering certain foods that are going to be conducive for my body type in particular. I visualize myself not taking certain things that are going to cut down on my productivity. It's one of the reasons why I don't drink. It's because I know that if I drink, the next day my productivity is down and could affect the next day as well, which then affects my week. So if I ever have a drink, it's probably December time on one particular weekend where I'm taking my 1 week break in particular, and very little as well, just to celebrate if I want to. So are you visualizing the end, or are you visualizing the process? Spend most of your time visualizing the process and see the difference. 80% of the time, visualize the process. 20% of the time, visualize that cherry on top that you get, that final outcome that you might get. And that might be the difference. But visualize at the end of the day. I don't care if it's just the outcome or whatever. Spend that time visualizing, because a lot of the thoughts that happen to us, we don't have control over them. Even though a lot of the time we want to identify with them and feel like, oh man, I'm such a weak person, or I'm such a cruel person. No, you're not. Those thoughts happened. It's what you do from those thoughts. For instance, there's one person who's thought about killing someone, but they never have done it. They're just like, oh man, if I can put my hands on so and so and just wring their neck, And then there's another person who's actually done the deed. Now, who is the person in society who is in jail or who is marked a killer and who isn't? It's the person who has actually did the thing itself. You see? So that is the difference. Your thoughts are some things that happen to you. Now you need to take control and say, okay, I'm going to do that deed or that thing that the thought impulse did. I'm going to now actualize that, or I'm not going to actualize that thought impulse. Okay, I'm going to choose which ones I actualize, and then that determines the real person of or the real me. Okay, so but there's a deeper level to that as well. There's a deeper level to how can you then get to a state whereby the thoughts you're thinking as well, like most of these thoughts are creative thoughts and not destructive thoughts. That's a second layer, but that's one that I will talk about next week. How can you have more spontaneous thoughts that are conducive to your growth, than having spontaneous thoughts that are detrimental to your growth, negative thoughts, if we may put it that way. How can we have more positive thinking and less negative thinking? But anyway, this is my top 3 for the week that is to come. So I've got GBP AUD, which is looking pretty good. A real textbook setup with the 3-touch expanding. What I like about this 3-touch expanding is then we actually got a little head and shoulders type formation here, which is really, really good. So what I'd be looking for there is a little push down and a flag in this area here. So we've got that little hook point type vibe. This is just a good textbook type move for me, which I'll be taking on the 15-minute or the 1 hour. I'll then take that position and see where it leads us. But this is a very high probability for a directional trade to the downside. The next one I'll be looking at would be the Euro USD. This one's looking pretty good. I was dancing with it last week to try and get a daily entry. I didn't get my daily entry as yet, but what I'll be looking for here is a very simple 2-touch type formation, just like that, or a variation of that. As long as I have a 3-touch on the inside, I'll be taking this 2-touch. Okay, so it would be 1, 2, but it has to have this little 3-touch inside. And then we can take that to the downside. But that's looking very, very good. I think this is my favorite for the week that is to come. But we'll see how that goes, because what we might find is we might not get that continuation there. Maybe the continuation we get, and it's still cool and valid for me, is we get price to push down a little bit, and then we get a continuation here, which is also fine. So we'll just monitor that and see what price gives us next week, and then we will go for that. And then lastly, I've got the GBP USD. I'm looking for exactly the same thing as Euro USD. So over here I'll be looking for maybe this type of movement where we get the little 1, 2, 3 over there and a position. But we also have this hook point here, so we may find that price might just push up a little bit more and give us a second touch there. And I'll just be looking for a simple little 5-minute continuation here. I don't usually take the 5-minute unless price action is looking really, really good, and over here it's looking very, very good for me to take a little 5-minute continuation there as well, and then we'll see where price takes us. Otherwise, those are my favorites for the week. What are yours? And I will catch you again next week. Goodbye.